What if I told you that Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, just walked into his old high school and discovered the janitor who inspired him as a teenager is still working, at 80 years old? What happened next shocked Michael, and the world couldn't believe it. Stay with me because this story will change the way you think about greatness forever. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Dive into what really happened. You've got to see this, Michael Jordan exclaimed, his voice a mix of excitement and disbelief, as he stepped into the familiar halls of Emsley A. Laney High School. It had been decades since he last walked these corridors, decades since he had been a young teenager, dribbling a basketball, dreaming of NBA stardom, and imagining the roar of the crowd at the United Center. Today, he wasn't here for practice or a game. He was here for something far simpler, yet far more emotional, a visit back to the place where his dreams had first taken shape. The school seemed both the same and different. The walls carried the faint echoes of laughter, basketball games, and footsteps of generations past. The gym still smelled faintly of polished wood and worn-out mats, a scent Michael instantly recognized. Every corner seemed to hold a memory, the sound of sneakers squeaking on the floor, the distant shouts of teammates, and even the soft buzz of the old fluorescent lights above. Nostalgia washed over him in waves, filling him with a warmth he hadn't expected. But then, something or rather someone caught his attention. Near the far end of the hallway, a man moved with calm, steady determination, pushing a mop across the linoleum floor. Michael paused mid-step. At first he thought it was another staff member. But something about the figure seemed familiar. As he focused, recognition hit him like a sudden slam dunk. It was Mr. Lewis, the janitor. The man who had quietly kept the school running for decades, a silent observer of countless students' triumphs and struggles. Over 60 years of service, through changes in staff, students, and even the city itself, Mr. Lewis had remained steadfast, humble, and consistent. And now, at 80 years old, he was still here, working every single day with the same dedication, the same commitment. Michael's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe his eyes. How had Mr. Lewis maintained this level of energy and dedication at his age? How had he quietly touched so many lives without anyone noticing? For a moment, Michael simply stood there, frozen in awe as the weight of reality sank in. Here was a man whose greatness was invisible to the world, yet undeniable in its quiet, persistent brilliance. Michael felt a surge of respect, admiration, and curiosity all at once. This wasn't just a reunion. It was the beginning of a story that would change him forever. Michael took a few tentative steps forward, careful not to startle the man who had so quietly influenced the halls of his high school for decades. His heart raced, a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and deep respect coursing through him. "Mr. Lewis, is that really you?" he asked, his voice low but tinged with awe, unable to hide the astonishment that welled up inside him. The janitor paused, his mop resting gently on the floor. He looked up at Michael with eyes that held warmth, wisdom, and a hint of mischief. A twinkle danced in his gaze, and a soft, knowing smile spread across his face. "Well, if it isn't Michael Jordan," he said with a gentle chuckle. "I heard you might come back one day." Michael felt a rush of emotion he hadn't expected. Here was the man who had quietly been the backbone of the school, the one who had always been present no matter how many generations passed through these halls. While the world had celebrated Michael's gravity-defying jump shots, his championships, and the legendary moments that defined his career, Mr. Lewis had lived a life marked by simplicity, humility, and unwavering dedication. He had no trophies, no headlines, no worldwide fame, but his contribution to the lives around him was profound, steady, and lasting. Struck Michael how different greatness could look. While he had spent decades striving for recognition on the global stage, Mr. Lewis had shaped countless lives without ever asking for applause or acknowledgement. His legacy was not measured in accolades but in the subtle, enduring impact he had on the students, staff, and community around him. Michael's admiration deepened. He realized that the quiet heroism of Mr. Lewis had taught a lesson far more important than any basketball move or award. It was a lesson in consistency, humility, and service, a reminder that making a difference doesn't always require fame, fortune, or recognition. In that moment, Michael understood the profound truth. The world often overlooks those who work behind the scenes, yet their influence resonates far beyond what anyone can see. Mr. Lewis had never sought the spotlight, yet he was a hero in the purest sense, inspiring Michael, and through this reunion the world, to rethink what true greatness really means. Michael and Mr. Lewis moved to the empty gym, the same place where Michael had spent countless hours perfecting his jump shot, refining his dribbles, and dreaming of NBA stardom. The wooden floor creaked slightly under their steps, echoing memories of past games and laughter. The sunlight poured through the tall gym windows, casting warm, natural light over the scene, illuminating their faces with a soft glow. They sat on the bleachers, facing each other, and the conversation began cautiously. Michael, normally the confident, larger-than-life athlete, found himself humbled. He asked about the past, the decades of students who had walked through these halls, the challenges the school had faced, and the lessons Mr. Lewis had quietly imparted to so many. Mr. Lewis leaned back slightly, eyes thoughtful, and began sharing stories. There were tales of shy students finding courage, of troubled teens discovering purpose, and of small moments of kindness that had made an enormous difference in young lives. He spoke with humor, wisdom, and a subtle pride that didn't seek attention but radiated impact. Each story was layered with lessons of patience, resilience, and the quiet power of showing up every day, no matter how small the act seemed. "You know, young man," Mr. Lewis said softly, his voice calm but firm, "life isn't always about championships, fame, or recognition. It's about showing up, doing your best, and leaving a mark, even if nobody notices. That's where true greatness lives." Michael felt a lump form in his throat. Here he was, a global icon, a man whose name was known in every corner of the world, learning a life lesson from someone who had never sought fame or accolades. He realized that while he had chased records, trophies, and the bright lights of the NBA, Mr. Lewis had quietly built a legacy that would endure far beyond any highlight reel, a legacy of consistency, service, and meaningful impact. Sitting there in that sunlit gym, Michael understood that greatness isn't always measured by what the world applauds. It can also be found in the steady, unseen acts that shape the lives of others. Mr. Lewis had found that kind of greatness, and Michael felt profoundly inspired, knowing that the lessons he had learned here would stay with him forever. Michael Jordan stood in the quiet hallway of his old high school, the echoes of the past still lingering around him. He looked at Mr. Lewis, the man who had quietly devoted decades of his life to the school, and a sense of awe and admiration washed over him. Michael knew he couldn't simply walk away this time. This wasn't just a reunion. It was a moment that deserved recognition, a story that the world needed to hear. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, his fingers slightly trembling. With a few swift taps, he made a call that would change Mr. Lewis's life forever. Within days, headlines were everywhere. Michael Jordan honors high school janitor who served for decades. The story went viral almost instantly. People were amazed to learn that while Michael had soared to global fame, there had been someone quietly shaping generations of students, showing up every single day without recognition or applause. Donations began pouring in from fans, alumni, and philanthropists, all inspired by Mr. Lewis's story. Plans were made to provide him with a comfortable retirement, a fully upgraded home, and lifelong security, tangible rewards for a lifetime of dedication. But the most important part was that Mr. Lewis still had the energy and strength to enjoy these blessings, a fact that made the gesture even more meaningful. Michael didn't stop at just providing financial support. Using his massive platform, he shared Mr. Lewis's story with millions of fans worldwide, highlighting the power of humility, dedication, and the impact of those who work behind the scenes. Social media exploded with admiration and gratitude, as people everywhere began reflecting on the unsung heroes in their own lives. Teachers, janitors, mentors, and neighbors whose quiet contributions often go unnoticed. This simple, heartfelt gesture not only changed Mr. Lewis's life but also inspired the world to pause and recognize the silent champions around them. Michael realized that greatness isn't just about records, awards, or fame. It's about lifting others, honoring those who deserve it, and amplifying stories of resilience, service, and humility. That day, he reminded millions that true impact often comes from the quiet, unseen efforts of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. As Michael Jordan walked out of the familiar halls of Emsley High School, he felt something he hadn't expected. It wasn't the nostalgia of his own past or the thrill of returning to the gym where his dreams had first been born. Instead, it was a profound sense of understanding, a realization that greatness isn't always measured in trophies, championships, or the roar of adoring crowds. Mr. Lewis, the quiet janitor who had devoted decades of his life to the school, had reminded Michael, and by extension all of us, that true success is far more nuanced. It isn't just about wealth, fame, or accolades. True greatness is found in showing up day after day, giving your best effort, and leaving a lasting positive impact on the people around you, even if no one notices or applauds. It is in the small, consistent acts of dedication that ripple quietly through generations. The story of Mr. Lewis went viral, but not because of Michael Jordan's fame. It went viral because of the timeless lesson it carried. A lesson that resonated with millions. Sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones working quietly behind the scenes. Teachers, janitors, mentors, and ordinary people who dedicate themselves selflessly are often the ones shaping the future in ways that are far more lasting than any highlight reel. Even a living legend like Michael Jordan, accustomed to global recognition and fame, could be humbled, inspired, and transformed by the life of a man who had never sought attention. It was a powerful reminder that humility, integrity, and quiet perseverance are forms of greatness just as significant, sometimes even more so, than the fame and glory the world celebrates. As Michael stepped out into the sunlight, he looked back at Mr. Lewis one final time. His eyes filled with deep respect and gratitude. One man had taught him more about life, legacy, and the true meaning of success than any coach, teammate, or championship ever could. That moment served as a universal truth. Greatness comes in many forms. And some of the most important heroes are the ones we never expected. The ones who quietly shape lives, touch hearts, and leave the world better than they found it. Michael walked away with more than memories. He walked away with a renewed perspective, one that the world needed to see, hear, and remember.